It's like an electronic U.
Yeah. That's right, yeah.
Police ahead.
Yeah, with your sign. Does that sign light up?
Yes.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Yes,
Does it like blink?
Yes, it does blink.
Oh my God, that's great.
Awesome.
Did you build that yourself?
Yes.
So you kind of answered my top 5 questions in that in that speech, but basically, who's your target audience? Who's your primary target audience? Is it the police officers you're interacting with, or your YouTube audience, the people at home? Like who's
who are you trying to influence the most? Are you trying to influence the officers themselves, or your audience?
I think what I set out to do was think about my own self, where I was before I stumbled upon the ideas of liberty, and I target everything I do at that. So like Brett 5 years ago, who's just drunk watching sports and oblivious to the world around me. And so there's another activist, Mark Gray, Honor Your Oath, a little shout out there. He was pretty instrumental because he did the same sort of...
Is he from this area?
He's out of Florida.
Oh, okay.
Real popular YouTube channel. And he would do the same activism, same type of activism. He'd go out on the street and outside of sometimes a government facility or military base or whatever, and every time it's this whole drawn out, ego war, essentially, that, hey, I'm a cop. You see, I've got this little shiny badge here. You have to give me your ID. And, then they go into the whole terrorist thing. And, this is, today, in today's world, we need to really identify you, because me looking at your license is going to somehow
make you safe,
peek into your mind and give me your intentions. So it's just, a good demonstration of the police state. And so that's sort of what woke me up. And so that's kind of who I'm targeting. And I tend, I get a lot of good feedback. I get a lot of bad feedback, but it comes with the territory, I guess.
Well, I mean, have you found something that you think works to target those people sitting on the couch? Like, what's is there a secret that you found, or?
I don't think there's really a secret, and I think it's way bigger than me. I think it's guys like you who are starting up some, creating content, and so everybody is going to reach a different group of people.
Very good point.
Right? So some people, Tom Woods, for example, he has a podcast, and he reaches thousands, if not millions of people with his message, and he's a professor type, so he's going to reach a whole nother audience than me, kind of a rabble rouser who stirs things up with the police and posts stuff to YouTube. And so I think it's just part of an awakening. We're going to start seeing more people get active, and it's bigger than all of us. So
that is extremely well said. Like, often lately, I see or get sucked into these. This is how you should do your libertarianism. This is how you should do your activism. You're doing it wrong. You're not a real anarchist. You're not a real voluntarist, whatever, because you're not doing it the way I think it needs to be done. But the point I keep repeating is that I didn't go from, years ago Democrat to overnight voluntarist. That doesn't happen. I don't even know it. And if somebody did make that mental leap, they'd probably be a little insane. So there's a path that you have to follow, and you move from here to here, and then, you get comfortable there and you learn the next set of arguments. Oh, okay, I'm going to move this way now, and now I'm going to move here. And I think the intelligent ones, hopefully, are the ones that seek that consistency. And it's not something that just snaps into place overnight. You have to slowly kind of move toward, okay, so now I'm a minarchist. We definitely need the government for, military and police and courts, right? And then you're just like, well, there's this nagging inconsistency. I think that's what drags most people the rest of the way, is they're, well, if it's a moral to tax for all this, why is it a moral to tax for those things? Anyway. So
yeah, and that's not to say that those services are not valid, right?
Right.
Police, for example, I would probably subscribe to some sort of security force or police force in a free market, because if you're under attack, it's nice to have someone to call, or if your property's stolen, it's nice to have someone to call that can go out and look for it. I've got a full-time job. I can't hunt down my property when it's stolen. So yes, the police, that's the little rabbit hole here. That is probably the biggest challenge and the biggest wall as content creators that we have, is people have this wall that, somehow talking negative towards the state is just denouncing all the services they provide. And it's so hard for people to separate and conceptualize how this would work in a free market. And we don't know. I mean, we're not entrepreneurs, or we don't have all the answers for every industry. But I can tell you that the initiation of force is wrong, taxation is wrong, therefore those services are, you're creating a monopoly, and it's inefficient, and we don't want that. So yes, we want those services, we just want them to be voluntarily funded. We don't want to steal and create these massive bureaucracies and monopolies that operate below efficiency. It's just
in fact, part of our point is that one person can't be smart enough or know enough to be able to figure everything out. So for me to say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't know how," I don't know, give me something.
Roads. Yeah. I mean, that's the biggest.
How will planes over airports be regulated in a free society? I don't have to give you the answers to that, because my entire point is that no one or small group of people could come up with the most efficient, optimum answers for that.
Right. It takes thousands of businesses trying different things and experimenting until someone finds the right solution that catches on. And, when that catches on, then everybody jumps on board, and then the prices go down, and it's supply and demand. It's Econ 101. And it's so hard for people to really conceptualize that. That if you remove this violent monopoly, somehow we can't figure out how to build roads, and we can't figure out how to
fly planes,
educate children, and we can't figure. It's like, oh well, it's just it's a hard argument, because there's nothing we can point to say, see, this is the free market, and see, this is working. And so it's all concepts and theory, and people aren't willing to make the jump sometimes. It's tough.
Can you talk about some of the hate mail? I'm sure you've gotten pushback, because there's a lot of people that revere the police.
Absolutely, yeah. My own family, to an extent, don't like me challenging authority, even though they may agree with my theory. They just don't like to see me challenge authority, and I'm at peace with myself, because I know I'm on the moral high ground. No matter if they throw a charge at me, no matter if they lock me in a cage, no matter if they take away everything I own. If I'm on the moral high ground, I'm at peace with myself. And so that's kind of where I stand. And yeah, it's tough.
Yeah. Do you have a family? Like, do you have a wife, girlfriend, kids? You don't have to share if you don't want to. But it does kind of affect like the risk involved, right?
Yeah, I just got out of a relationship. She was not very excited about my activism, to say the least. But yeah, I get a lot of hate mail. Most of my content's through YouTube, and so yeah, you see that where, like for example, challenging a speed trap. Well, if officers weren't out there writing tickets all day long and writing all these 5 mile an hour over tickets, somehow we would be one big fireball on the streets with wrecks and pileups and everything else. But somehow, when the officer leaves that speed trap and goes back to his office or whatever, and leaves that road unattended, everything's fine.
Yeah.
People speed, people don't die. It's just these little things that, for me, are real easy to convey, and people just refuse to think. They say, well, this, therefore this, and this is the way it's been, so, it should be like that for the rest of time.
Yep.
So,
yep.
Yeah,
and there's no excuse saying, well, it's the threat that maybe a cop would be over the next hill that slows people down, because there's been radar detectors. I had a laser defense system on my last car that would fire lasers back at the police to scramble, and I never got a ticket, and that was a sports car, and I always went way too fast.
Nice.
So there's technology to protect yourself against that stuff. And then there's apps like Waze where, you get like a voice comes out of nowhere and says, hey, there's a cop ahead. You might want to slow down. So
it's like an electronic U.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
It's ahead.
Yeah. With your sign. Does that sign light up?
Yes.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Yes,
does it like blink?
Yes, stuff? It does blink.
Oh my God, that's great.
Awesome.
Did you build that yourself?
Yes.
That's awesome.
It made it onto a newscast too, and you can find that on my channel. So
nice.
Yeah.
We will be linking probably 1,000 of your videos on this one. Do you still do that?
From time to time. It's such just easy activism, and everywhere that drives by appreciates it. So the only people who don't appreciate it is like, people on YouTube who have a distant cousin who died in a car accident, and somehow, me advocating, the abolition of speed traps is somehow advocating dangerous driving. It's just the leaps that people make in activism is irrational. Yeah. And so it's really hard to keep them on track and bring them back to reality that, the only person that's causing violence in this situation is this police officer.
Can you explain that? Because I think a lot of the laymen, the people sitting at home on their couch are going to say, wait, these cops aren't initiating violence. They're just pulling people over and giving them tickets.
Right.
So what do you mean
when you follow that act of a police officer, stopping your vehicle on the road for a traffic violation?
So what we're doing is showing you the hidden gun. That's what we're doing.
The hidden gun, right? There's a hidden gun in every police interaction.
Yes.
Because otherwise you just walk away and you couldn't do anything.
Exactly.
So it's not consensual. So they stop you and they pull you over with the underlying threat of force.
Yes.
Because if you keep driving, it's going to end badly.
They don't just go away.
You'll be on the news and they're going to be shooting and
didn't stop.
running you off the road.
They didn't stop. I'm going to go have lunch.
We go.
Yeah, it doesn't end. So if you follow these, if you follow like a speeding ticket, for example, to its ultimate conclusion, if you don't pay their fee and extortion fine, they will issue a warrant for your arrest and you'll end up in a cage. And so, they don't come and apprehend you by just calling you up and asking you to come in. No, they will apprehend you with the, underlying threat of force. And so everything the state does is actually backed up by violence. Whether it ultimately comes to that is usually the choice of the oppressed. Because if you go along with it, you'll end up alive, but you won't end up with your liberty. So
you got to follow the chain of events that usually never happen.
Yes. Yeah. If you follow it back to its ultimate conclusion, it always ends up with you in a cage with a man with a gun standing outside with a key.
Yeah.
Extremely well put. Yes, definitely.